All right, that was amazing and very inspirational. So if you bear with us for about another half hour, we have another wonderful speaker coming up here. And this is Iana Aranda. And she is a program manager engineer for global development sector in ASME, for those of you familiar with that organization. And it's a nonprofit professional organization that enables collaboration and knowledge sharing and skills development across the engineering disciplines while promoting a vital role of the engineer in society. And we would like to be vital engineers, so this is excellent. The primary focus of ASME is on design, development, and implementation of portfolio programs in emerging markets, social innovation, and sustainable design. So please welcome Nana. And let's also get your presentation up here. That might be helpful. There you go. This comes off if you need it to.
Oh, sure. Well, this is really tough. I am the last thing holding you away from the bar. So I'm going to try to make this less than half an hour. And considering the fact that I'm following Laura and Brent from We Care Solar, and they're a tough act, I'll do my very best. So thank you all. Thank you. I really appreciate that kind of encouragement. So I just want to start out with laying the foundation here, and it's a lot of facts that you guys have already heard today from a number of speakers before me regarding the status of where we are. And I'm referencing the Millennium Development Goals here, which are obviously expiring and are set to be reassessed and now going to be the Sustainable Development Goals. But bottom line is, there's a lot of work left to be done. We've done quite a bit already. We've gone really far in ending extreme poverty. We're halfway there, but there's a lot to do. So we believe, and I'll talk about who we are in a minute, that the engineering of affordable, appropriate, and sustainable products and methods, combined with building the capacity of local communities, has more potential to improve the human condition than just traditional aid models alone. And you've heard about some of these sustainable products already. You've heard about Pollinate. You've heard about We Care Solar. So we're very excited about that, but we believe that traditional engineering is not going to cut it. And I don't believe any of you are traditional engineers. I believe you are engineers who are focusing for global development, and that is an entirely different toolkit. It requires an understanding of social science, of the political context. It requires a design mentality that is entirely unique. And at Engineering for Change, which is the organization I'm representing here along with ASME, we are here to serve engineers in global development to really help you do your work better. Engineering for Change is a coalition. It's a global community of organizations and individuals who are dedicated to promoting these sustainable and accessible solutions. We were founded, you'll be happy to know if you haven't heard about us already, by IEEE along with ASME and Engineers Without Borders USA, and have since brought on a number of supporting organizations. So we really are a collection of engineering societies who care about what's happening in global development. In addition to our programs, we have our platform, engineeringforchange.org. And we know that engineering for global development or humanitarian engineering is really important to people because since we've launched in 2011, we have over 22,000 members on our site. We have a social media reach of almost 800,000 people who are really keen to know what's up at the intersection of engineering and global development. We publish weekly original news, deliver webinars. Holly Schneider-Bryan is here helping me run on that, and establish programs. And what we offer is a real cross-sector perspective. We look at 7 different sectors: health, water, agriculture, sanitation. I'm not going to list them all. And that enables us, and which brings me to the topic of my talk, to really understand some of the higher overarching trends, some of which have been touched upon already. So the first issue I'm going to discuss today is something that is in the sector of energy, and one of your technical program chairs is actually quite deeply involved in this, and this is on the issue of indoor air pollution. So we've talked about maternal death, we've talked about some of the issues associated with lack of access to healthcare, but this is the hidden killer that nobody ever thinks about. The fact that 4 million people die each year from illnesses related to breathing smoke from cooking fires, something that we all take for granted. You go into your kitchen, you turn on your stove, you never worry about the fact that it's going to kill you unless you leave it burning the whole day. And who is the most affected? Who does most of the cooking? Women. Women and children are the most affected by this issue. Double the number that died from AIDS in 2010, and 6 times as many deaths as malaria. A little food for thought. So this problem has been around for a while, and there have been solutions that have been developed, namely clean or improved cook stoves, have actually been developed of various models: solar cook stoves, biogas cook stoves that run on charcoal and other things. In fact, about almost 830 approximated cook stoves have been delivered to folks worldwide. Sounds great. Why isn't the problem over? Well, the problem is, and I think you've probably heard this a number of times as well, is that there is the adoption issue. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with JPAL or the Abdul Latif Jameel Poverty Action Lab. A few folks. It's an amazing lab out of MIT, and they really excel at doing randomized evaluation trials. And they did one in 2012, the largest one to date, of cook stove programs, and found that adoption really was not hitting the mark. That, frankly, those households that received cook stoves did not regularly use them, that they did not invest enough in their maintenance, and they didn't value the health benefits of these cook stoves enough to actually utilize them effectively. So what can be done about this? And this is one of the exciting trends, and along with Nathan and Kathleen Sienko, who's another attendee at this conference, we are starting to use something called ethnographic research. It's not just for social scientists anymore. It is something that is incredibly useful in understanding how communities actually utilize these technologies. What are the preventive factors from having this kind of successful adoption? So Nathan actually spent some time in Mali. I'm sure those of you who know him know about this, and studied village energy needs, where he actually tracked all of the energy that was coming in and out of the system. And I believe he shadowed the lovely ladies of that Mali village into their kitchens and tried to really understand by the hour, by the minute, where was their time spent, how were they actually utilizing their time in terms of energy usage. And approximately 65% of that time, in fact, went into this energy culinary chain, whether it was harvesting wood or actually preparing meals or doing other types of cooking. And what you'll see, I don't know if you can see very well at the very bottom here, oh, the colors look much better on my screen. Sorry about that. So what you'll see is not only are they cooking food, but there's also preparation of medicines. There is a shea butter preparation, and all of that requires this utilization of the stove. And what was discovered by Nathan was that stove stacking is something that's quite prevalent, meaning just like in your home, you don't only utilize your one stove for absolutely everything. I'm sure a few of you have a microwave, maybe a toaster. So the same way, this is what women in Mali are doing. And in fact, these improved cook stoves are just another stove that's added to an open fire or a 3-stone fire. In addition to that, untended fires are quite common. Can anybody guess why untended fires are common? Someone mentioned about the light that's indestructible by bears, but destructible by 5-year-olds, children. Somebody's got to take care of those. So women are leaving the fires, whether it is to take care of children or other things, and that actually results in the fact that in a regular fire, you can just add more wood, you can stoke the fire and be fine. But in these high, thermally efficient, well-designed stoves, you can't do that. They have to be regularly attended to. This is disruptive in a regular pattern. So here are some interesting factors that are actually design indicators for an engineer who's interested in making something that's actually adoptable by a community. Nathan developed this real energy model, and he actually, along with his research partners, designed these or established these technical design guidelines where articulating what is really necessary to get us to the next step. The fact that really we're looking at wood and charcoal as the viable sources of energy right now, that although solar cook stoves are fantastic, frankly, they just don't align with the traditional patterns within a village. And I included a quote here that I heard the other day that I thought was particularly interesting, because I feel that the combination of these kinds of rigorous ethnographic studies, engineering thinking and understanding, is something that you can actually bring to bear in a community where you design with the community, something that I think is embodied by the phrase design under a mango tree. Use all of your knowledge, use all of this kind of insight, but really drive to design something that is adoptable. So another trend that we're very excited about at Engineering for Change, and something that the Clean Cook Stove community is really pushing forward with and we're encouraged by, is the notion of standards. Standards obviously incredibly important to all of us in this room, and the Alliance for Clean Cook Stove, which represents another coalition, has been hard at work, and Nathan is a part of that group. They have actually, as of 2012, along with the EPA's Partnership for Clean Indoor Air and the ISO, along with the key stakeholders, have actually identified four performance indicators for actually rating these kinds of cook stoves, which lays the groundwork for standards. So we've talked about electrification. I'm going to swing over into that sector right now. We know the issues. We see that sub-Saharan Africa is still in the dark, and we know that population growth demonstrates that 700 million people in Africa alone will be without electricity by 2030. So what's been done? We're hearing about the solar suitcase, and I'm so excited. It's one of the many solutions. But there are a number of others, and they're coming at full speed. And as more engineers and designers are engaged in this space, then we are also seeing these new startups, new exciting ways of looking at things, but not always going exactly as they planned. So I'm going to share with you the example of the socket. How many people have heard of the socket? A couple of you have heard the socket. So the socket is a portable generator in the form of a soccer ball. So interesting idea. You give something for kids to play with. We've heard this in the water sector before as well, a similar idea. Give something for kids to play with. It retains the energy, and then you can plug in. If you can see in the photo, you actually plug in a little gooseneck lamp, and ta-da, energy and light. It was claimed to actually, for 30 minutes of play, give you 3 hours of light and last about 3 years. So from what I remember, also, Obama was really excited about it. So got a lot of publicity, went really wide, and in fact, there was a large-scale distribution in Mexico in March of 2013, and the largest big TV network, Televisa in Mexico, gave out about 150 balls. So this is a startup that grew kind of faster than it expected, and they did not have an after-sales service plan. They did not have the kind of robust monitoring program in place yet to see what would happen. But an independent journalist did visit the site and did check out a lot of the balls that were distributed and found that most of them were unfortunately broken, that in fact the lights were not working the way that they intended, that they were flickering in and out almost immediately, and there was a high rate of disappointment. In fact, the failure rate was discovered to be about 30%. Now, this is something that Uncharted Play, the company behind the socket, has gone on to publicly state is not accurate, that in fact the failure rate is 3.3%. But this is something that we've seen to be the case on numerous occasions for a variety of well-intentioned design firms. So it's just something for us to think about, and something that we really need to consider as we look at these new sexy ideas. What does it really mean to scale these solutions? What are the implications of doing so, especially to the communities who are the recipients of these products? I'm here, I have another example of a well-established organization that's been around for quite some time, D-Light, and their S20 solar lantern also has great claims, 8 hours of light and a full battery, 360-degree solar lighting. They've gone through a number of phases of this product and established a really robust after-sales service model where each unit has a serial number, a warranty card, and in fact, you can reach someone by mobile phone for a replacement if your lamp should fail. Includes a 1-year warranty. And I think, motivating factor for a lot of these solar lanterns and products that are doing quite well and have managed to scale, again, comes back to standards. So in this case, Lighting Africa, which is now Lighting Global, and is the initiative of IFC and the World Bank, has actually taken, after a number of years, they've been actually accepted, they have these standardized test methods that they've developed, their Lighting Global Quality Test Method and an abbreviated version of that, to actually test these lamps rigorously, and they have been actually institutionalized through the IEC, which is an exciting step, and we hope to see more of this for solar home systems and other PV products. So I wanted to give you a few examples from the healthcare sector, and I know Laura already spoke about the issues that she faced. You saw the real kind of in the hospital view of what really happens in rural regions, and I really wanted to shed a light, no pun intended, on the issue around especially donated equipment, and this is something that we hear and see often, especially from private sector engagement kind of gone wrong, where refurbished technology is introduced into these communities without any consideration for the life cycle, any consideration for suitability, maintenance, consumables, big deal, and obviously power requirements. Those inverters catch us every single time. So it's amazing that these medical graveyards still exist. In fact, the report that I referenced here from Uganda of the 13 out of 20 incubators that have been donated being broken was just reported by The Atlantic last year. This is not old data. This keeps happening, even though we seem to be talking about it ad nauseum. So it's exciting for us to see that more and more social ventures and engineers for global development are looking to design for adoption in a way that's at least heeding the warning. So I have the example here of the Embrace Incubator, an exciting innovation that's gotten a lot of publicity as well for all the right reasons. A smaller incubator costs approximately 0.1% of the traditional incubator, and really effective with this kangaroo mother care method, whereby a newborn is also having breastfeeding as well as skin-to-skin contact to ensure development over those first critical hours after birth. The Embrace Incubator works both on AC power and can be powered by a generator, and relies on phase change material that in fact releases heat slowly to the baby, and what is essentially a baby sleeping bag can be reused, can be cleaned, and is obviously incredibly intuitive to use. I don't know about you, but if I was a nurse in rural Africa, I'd be kind of intimidated by the thing on the left if I had never seen one like it before. And that's something that is really considered now by a number of organizations, including the Firefly that was designed by Design That Matters. This is a fantastic example of real consideration for life cycle design and design for adoption. This is a device for phototherapy for babies that are born with jaundice, and the actual therapy for this is quite, I won't say simple, but it is very direct. It is shining a blue light on a baby at a specified distance for a specified amount of time, and that'll take care of the jaundice. If you do not take care of it, there are significant health ramifications. What's exciting about the Firefly is that they've really looked at the usability and created a modular, portable phototherapy device that actually, as you can see here, can be placed right beside the mother, again, encouraging that skin-to-skin contact, encouraging breastfeeding as appropriate, reducing staff workload. And what's interesting is that they also looked at those lights that are always catching us. The LEDs that they use are rated to last 44 times longer than compact fluorescent tubes. It has no moving parts, which is really, really impressive. There's no fans and no adjustable components that can be easily broken. And all of the outer casings, and this is really important, they are insect, dust, and liquid proof. Those insects, they're big and they get in there and they'll fry that comparative circuit real quick. So this is something, these are practical design decisions, but are founded in real experience, and we're really excited to see them. So swinging over to the sanitation sector, I'm going to use a borrowed line here. Imagine, if you will, if you had to go to the bathroom in the thing on the left. The thing with the blue thing. So that was the bathroom that was readily available in Jakarta, Indonesia. In Jakarta, a big city, in the slums there, when Mercy Corps came in and really wanted to develop a better solution. They built the beautiful latrines you see with the hand washing stations, and they also implemented a behavior change campaign to really encourage the use of the latrines and also improve hand washing practices, because those two go hand in hand. You can build a latrine, but if people aren't washing their hands, then really, frankly, the intervention is somewhat useless. So one of the things they wanted to really understand is, well, how effective were these programs? How effective was this intervention? So they started to conduct field surveys. However, it is anecdotally kind of well known that field surveys are prone to bias. And that happens to all of us. I'm sure if you've ever done a survey, it happens too. Just like now, you'll probably get a little exhausted. It's been a long day. You're just going to get this thing over with. Or, in fact, a lot of times, interviewers tend to actually answer for their interviewees, and the results are skewed. So it's really difficult to make data-driven decisions when you don't have that accurate information, that real clear understanding of how often are folks using this technology that you've introduced. So here, the Mercy Corps worked with a Sweet Lab, a lab that's out of Portland State University, led by Evan Thomas, and they have developed a really novel, low-cost, low-energy remote sensor to get an understanding of how used were these latrines. They were monitoring trigger events like opening, closing of latrine doors, and changes in pressure as people were turning on and turning off the taps to wash their hands ostensibly. These comparator circuits were actually, they're low power. You can see you just need 6 batteries or 5 batteries to run one. They have an onboard SD card to actually store compressed data, and they transmit data over the wireless network or cellular network directly to the internet, where the Sweet data system actually interprets it and allows it to be published online. And what they discovered was that, in fact, interestingly, unlike the surveys reported, folks were using the latrines much more frequently, 4 times more than they reported in the survey data, but they were washing their hands 25 times less. So really interesting study, and something that was enabled by this remote sensing solution and great engineering rigor. We talked about scaling, and I'm so excited to hear Paul and Nate here talking about it, and I have a few examples. Next time I'll include you in this deck with your permission. So what's exciting about scaling, and I'm going to leave financing off the table, but I want to talk a little bit about manufacturing, and Laura also mentioned that manufacturing and is such a key part of being able to really get their products down to a lower cost to ensure their quality and to make sure that they get to wherever they need to get on time. Another interesting layer in global development is the notion of capacity building. And this is something that a lot of social ventures really struggle with, how to ensure that. So some examples of manufacturing where capacity building is almost baked in comes for us from Burn Design and their Jikakoa natural draft charcoal stove, which they manufacture in country. They actually have opened a production facility in Ruru, I always get that wrong, Ruru, Kenya, which is just outside of Nairobi, where they actually managed to produce 99% of their components, employ 40 people, of which 40% are women, which is really, really exciting. And they believe that this gives them a competitive advantage in the sense that they are having this multiplied economic effect, but they are also getting their products to market faster. They're getting those field studies done right there. And these are distributed through Nakumats and other major stores, major retail outlets in Kenya, as well as elsewhere. But where that isn't always viable is in places where quality is a major concern. And we have another example from Potential Energy, where they were developing cook stoves for Darfur refugee camps. And they, although experimented with a few local manufacturers, just could not find a manufacturer that was going to ensure that they would have the kind of quality they needed. And poor quality stoves are a safety hazard. They're a risk, and they really, frankly, are decreased with fuel efficiency, so it defeats the purpose of having a stove of that nature. And when they actually did a supply chain study, they saw that it was, in fact, more expensive to manufacture these stoves in Sudan because they couldn't get access to the correct materials. They didn't have the right kind of equipment available to them, and frankly, the lower production capacity was just not going to be suitable for scale. So they have employed a hybrid model where they combine mass manufacturing in Mumbai, stamping flat sheets for these cook stove kits, send them via boat to the port of Sudan, and then transport them overland to assembly facilities close to the refugee camps. They estimate that the cost of that is approximately $20 per stove, which is fairly reasonable. Of course, it varies with respect to fuel and steel and other things. But the benefit is that they get that consistent quality, which is incredibly critical, cheaper prices overall, and the access to the right materials. When we talk about distribution and really getting these products to the last mile and then ultimately to the last 500 feet to those really remote communities, what's exciting is to see these novel types of supply chain partnerships. In this case, where you're really engaging private industry in a new way. I'm not sure how many of you have heard of Cola Life. Oh, a couple. I'm trying to figure out which one I get the lowest response for when I then feel like a winner. So what's interesting is that, you'll get to these remote parts of the world where you have no access to electricity, where it's hard to find a toilet, but you'll always be able to pick up a bottle of Coke. Amazing. What an amazing supply chain. So Cola Life really took advantage of this, and they developed a packaging system where they actually have what you see here with the little soap bar. So, excuse me. The little soap bar. It's a tray that fits into those red crates of Coca-Cola that get shipped, and you can actually transport critical, in this case, anti-diarrheal medications, as well as information about how to take care of someone who's suffering from extreme diarrhea, rehydration kits and everything of that nature, and soap in this lovely package that sits in between the Coca-Cola that gets sent over to all parts of the world. And this is a really fantastic example of unprecedented kinds of collaboration. Another example of really working through existing infrastructure comes to us from SMART. Not sure if you're familiar with them. There we go, a competitor. So SMART is another group that's working in India primarily, and started by 2 engineers. And they're also recognizing that you have a vast network of local retailers who are a perfect platform for really helping to introduce these life-changing products to the communities. If they can sell packets of shampoo and Nokia handsets, why not have a cook stove there on site? Why not have some medical equipment or something else that these same consumers might be interested in, a solar lantern or anything like that? So they've developed this partnership where they bring products to the retailers for demonstration, conduct training, and it's been proven quite effective. So again, in the interest of time, and I hope I'm not speaking too quickly, but likely I am, just because I see all of you glazed, we're almost at the end, so hang in there. I believe in you. So one of the biggest problems that we see as Engineering for Change is with respect to actually advancing product design and development. Everything I've shared with you is available somewhere, but it's not available in one place. Product information is disparate. It's often lacking with some of the most important information for engineers and designers, and namely that's information about evaluation methods and standards. It's somewhere, but it's often hidden, whether it's behind paywalls in academic publications or in standards granting organizations or in communities of practice who have all of that viable data, rich information, but it's hard to get to. It's not comparable. In fact, what's interesting for me as I've been doing the work that I've been doing, which I'll speak about, is finding information, even performance data of, let's say, a cook stove, not so much a cook stove, I'm sorry, I apologize about that, but let's say a water filtration system or some other product where even the units aren't comparable. And imagine trying to make decisions about what product is suitable for a community that you're working with or how you can improve on something if you can't even compare based on units. It takes a lot of time to normalize all that kind of information. And in fact, there's really a lack of neutrality and transparency in doing that. Manufacturers and designers often present these products, but the information is naturally skewed, oftentimes positioned for acquiring money and donors. So one of the things that I think is really important is ensuring that this kind of information is gathered by a neutral party. One thing that we learned is that, for example, where the WHO has a natural place in aggregating this kind of information for healthcare products, they're in fact unable to specify the brand name of a particular product if they're talking about it. So they can talk about a membrane filtration device that gets out, to a certain degree, but they can never name what that device is. So you're left kind of guessing about, well, what are they really talking about? So this is where our work at Engineering for a Change comes into play. We've been working on this for over 2 years, employing a phased approach to develop a platform and a program to actually support the convening of a community of stakeholders, participatory design, and development of this robust decision aid tool that we really want to hail here as designed by the user for the user. So our platform, which we've opened privately for testing just in August, is actually something akin to a CNET for these kinds of products. We talk about the notion of prior art, and whenever we design something new, we want to see what else has been done. Laura talked about it, a number of others have talked about it in sessions that I've attended. What else is out there that I can learn from? So we're trying to do exactly that. We've gathered market and engineering data in one place, normalized everything to enable product comparison, included field testing data and validation methods where we could find them, standards information, as well as academic literature wherever we could pull it, and actually delivered also a neutral product market overview to give you a sense of what context these products live in. So it also something that allows us to collect user feedback to really build this semi-crowdsourced, semi-curated platform for actually aggregating this information and enabling you all to make better decisions. So we are in our alpha testing period right now, and I'm very excited to be here because you are my target audience. I want what you're thinking about this kind of platform, and I'm not going to ask for you it right now because I'm sure you probably can tell me a heck of a lot more than I want to be at the bar now. So tomorrow at the 11 o'clock break, Holly and I will be leading a focus group, and I invite all of you, or if you're available, if you're not presenting your paper, to join us and check out Solutions Library 2.0, our alpha platform. Give us the kind of raw, honest feedback that I'm sure you do all the time. And with that, I want to thank you for giving me a chance to follow up some hard-to-follow acts. Thanks.
Thank you. That was an amazing amount of information. I would really personally love to pick your brain. So make sure you catch up with her in the morning, and the session they're going to be running is at 10:30 during the break. I believe we stuck you in Monterey, so it's been unannounced, but you can come and chat with her further. So I know that we're all very tired, but I thought she was such an excellent speaker, we wanted to get her in today. And if there are a few very quick questions, go for it.
Hi, you were talking about standards and product launch and typical things like that. And Africa is starting to look at what standards to embrace. I've talked to some of the executives there, and ISO 9000 and 14001 is the top, and they'll lead you to many others. But it'd be great to be able to see you consolidate all of those things. Is that exactly what you're doing, is providing a sort of a central clearinghouse of those things?
Oh, wait, there's a microphone right here.
There you go.
I thought somehow you took it. Oh, sorry. I flew in this morning, guys, from New York, so I'm just also kind of, it's about midnight. So, yes, what we're trying to do is aggregate information about all the existing standards that are actually referenced, which are few and far between. But those that are should continue to be referenced, in our opinion, where appropriate. But the real question is, and we don't have the answer to this, is what the standards mean, right? Is it better, in fact, to have guidelines? Is it, in fact, better to have just recommended methods? Because there's implications of standards reference, right? In fact, if you're looking to design for affordability and you encumber the process with severe standards, that product may no longer be as affordable as you initially intended. So it's a very nuanced and complicated conversation. And I'm not suggesting that standards are not what we need. Of course, I referenced them numerously. But what we need to have is a real lay of the land first, a real understanding of where there's a critical absence and what needs to fill that critical absence. Is it a standard? Is it a guideline? Is it something else? Is it a new definition for a standard? We don't know. But that conversation is not happening holistically. It's happening in really niche, focused kind of sideline conversation. Does that answer your question? Hey, Nate.
Hey, Iana, how are you doing?
I'm a little tired, Nate. How about you?
Fantastic, excellent. I just have about a 5-minute question.
Can't wait.
Thanks for coming out tonight, by the way.
Sure thing.
So I was wondering, for the folks from IEEE in the room, they may not be members of ASME, one of the 3 pillars that are forming E4C. And so I was wondering if you could tell us all in the room tonight a little bit about ASME's high-level strategic interests in global development, and perhaps about the conferences and publications that you're putting out.
Gee, Nate, is that a leading question? So thanks so much. For those of you who don't know, Nate is cheating on you with ASME. So I am a 50-50 staff for ASME and Engineering for Change. ASME's department that I work for is Engineering for Global Development, and our strategic objectives are to really, sorry if I'm getting a little feedback, Our strategic objectives are to advance the field of engineering for global development through a variety of products and programs, one of which, as Nate mentioned, is conferences. And one of the things that's really critically important to us, as it is to the GHTC community, is to really advocate for academic research in this space, to really demonstrate the rigor that is involved with the design and development of these kinds of products and solutions. So we have, with Nate's help, actually infused a number of our own conferences with tracks specifically dedicated to engineering for global development. Our big conference that's coming up, our International Mechanical Engineering Congress in Montreal, my hometown, is going to be focused entirely on engineering for global development, and we really want to put into the spotlight, just the way you want to do with the Global Humanitarian Technology Awards, the good work that's going on here. In addition to that, you all received a publication in your bags, Demand, the second issue. Some of the case studies that I referenced in today's presentation come from issue 1. Nathan is one of those case studies, amongst others. We have in this particular issue more work that we focus on design ethnography from Kathleen. So those are just a couple of examples. Other things we're pursuing include competitions. We are looking to develop a social innovation fund. So there's a lot of exciting work that I think synergizes excellently with the work that you all are doing here, and we're very excited to work a little bit more closely and lessen competition. So, thanks for asking that excellent question, Nate.
Great.
I'll
All
get
right.
a drink for that, right?
Thank you. So thank you all for attending and staying late for this incredible presentation. So I encourage you to meet up with all of our speakers and pick their brains tomorrow. And here is your indestructible light.
I can't wait.
Have fun with it. Thank you. Alrighty, we'll see you all bright and early at 8 a.m. in the morning. Yes. And thank you all. Have a good evening.